Hi everyone, my name is Katie Hallis and I'm a nutritionist with the Nutrition Education, Training, and Technical Assistance Division at USDA's Food and Nutrition Service in Child Nutrition Programs. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar on feeding infants 0 through 5 months. This webinar is part of Team Nutrition's monthly CACFP Halftime 30 on Thursdays webinar series. These webinars are held on the third Thursday of every month in both English and in Spanish. The English webinar is held from 2 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and the Spanish webinar will be held from 3 to 3:30 Eastern Time. These webinars will be recorded and made available at a later date on the Team Nutrition website. We will have time at the end of this webinar to take questions, and you can use the chat box at any time during the webinar to enter your questions. And we will try to answer as many as we can at the end of the webinar. Okay, so if you still cannot hear us through your computer speakers, you can call in by phone too. So please dial 866-740-1260, and when prompted, enter the access code 605-4013. So if you cannot hear us through the computer speakers again, go ahead and dial 866-740-1260, and when prompted, go ahead and enter the access code, which is 605-4013. Okay, so before we get started, we want to know who you are. Please go ahead and select one of the following listed on the slide here. Let us know if you are a child care center, if you work for a family child care home, an at-risk after-school care center, an adult daycare center, a sponsoring organization, an emergency shelter, a school food authority, a state agency, a USDA regional office, or other. Great, we have a lot of you here with us today. Thank you all for joining us. Okay, so let's get started. The CACFP infant meal pattern is broken up into 2 different age groups, 0 through 5 months and 6 through 11 months. This slide shows the 2 infant age groups and the meal pattern at breakfast for each age group. The meal pattern for this age group is focused on breast milk and formula, but we know that many infants are eating solid foods as they get older and are developmentally ready. We will cover this in much more detail at our halftime webinar in September, but for this month, our focus will be on feeding the younger infants breast milk and or formula. Because every baby is different, we always encourage you to speak with the baby's parents early and often to learn what the baby is eating at home and then what to feed the baby while in childcare. So you can see here on the slide that babies 0 through 5 months of age must be offered a minimum of 4 to 6 fluid ounces of breast milk or iron-fortified infant formula at breakfast, lunch or supper, and snack in your childcare site. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, breast milk is the best source of nutrition for babies and is the only food healthy babies need for about the first 6 months of life. Iron-fortified infant formula is a good alternative to breast milk. Iron-fortified infant formula is infant formula that has iron added to it. In the CACFP infant meal pattern, a site must offer at least 1 iron-fortified infant formula. The infant meal pattern lists minimum serving sizes of breast milk, infant formula, and solid foods as a range of numbers, rather than one specific number. This takes into account that the amount of breast milk or infant formula a baby consumes can change from feeding to feeding or even day to day. As long as the baby is offered the minimum required serving size of 4 to 6 fluid ounces at breakfast, lunch or supper, and snack, then it can credit towards a reimbursable meal or snack. The baby does not have to finish the bottle. Okay, so here's an example. Emma is new to your childcare site. It's her first day, and you are not sure how much Emma usually eats in one feeding. So you offer her 4 fluid ounces. Emma is still hungry, so then you offer her an additional 1 to 2 fluid ounces. After speaking with her parents, you find out that Emma usually drinks 6 fluid ounces at one feeding. So then you start offering her that 6 fluid ounces at each feeding. Here's a sample breakfast meal. You can claim reimbursement for a meal on the CACFP even if the baby eats at 2 different times in the day. For example, baby Jonathan showed signs of hunger at 9 a.m., so you offered him 4 to 6 fluid ounces of breast milk. Jonathan showed signs of being full after 2 fluid ounces, so you stopped the feeding. Later on that morning, though, at 10:30 a.m., he showed signs of hunger again, so you offered him 4 fluid ounces. Even though there were 2 feeding sessions, you can still claim them as part of a reimbursable breakfast meal. But make sure to store breast milk correctly to keep it from going bad between feedings. If a baby does not finish a bottle of breast milk at a feeding, then you can store it in the refrigerator for up to 2 hours. Do not give the bottle to the baby after 2 hours. If a baby does not finish a bottle of infant formula at a feeding, then throw away the infant formula that is left in the bottle. A baby's saliva can introduce bacteria into the bottle, which can make the infant formula go bad and make the baby sick. So deciding whether a baby should get breast milk or infant formula is a decision that is made by the parent. Speak with the parents about the type of formula that you provide at your child care site. With that information, parents may choose to use the iron-fortified infant formula that you provide. They can decline the one you provide and bring their own iron-fortified infant formula. They can provide breast milk or breastfeed at your site. They can provide breast milk and supplement with the iron-fortified infant formula you provide. Or they may provide breast milk and provide their own iron-fortified infant formula. In any of these situations, you can still claim the breast milk and or iron-fortified infant formula as part of a reimbursable meal or snack. In the CACFP infant meal pattern, a child care site must offer at least one iron-fortified infant formula that is regulated by the Food and Drug Administration, also known as the FDA. The FDA has strict nutrition and safety standards for infant formula to make sure infants are getting the nutrients they need for healthy growth. All infant formulas sold in the United States are regulated by the FDA. If an infant formula is bought from a place online or in person outside of the United States, it is probably not regulated by the FDA and should not be used. Iron-fortified infant formula is required in the CACFP for babies who are not breastfed or are partially breastfed. To make sure the iron-fortified infant formula you offer is creditable in the CACFP, you should look for infant formula with iron or a similar statement on the front of the formula package, and also make sure it contains 1 milligram of iron or more per 100 calories of formula when prepared using the label instructions. You can use the nutrition fact label as a guide to make sure the formula has enough iron. First, look at the line that says calories and make sure it says 100 or more. Then, look at the line that says iron. This should have 1 milligram or more listed. If you have any questions on if the iron-fortified infant formula you offer at your child care site is regulated by the FDA or contains enough iron, please contact your sponsoring organization or state agency. So for babies whose parents send in breast milk or formula, you may also want to talk to them about what you should do if their baby drinks all the breast milk or formula they brought in and they're still hungry. The parents may choose to bring in a backup supply of breast milk and ask you to store it in the refrigerator or freezer. Or they may ask you to offer their baby the iron-fortified infant formula you have at the child care site. Or the parents may choose to bring in their own iron-fortified infant formula. In all of these situations, the backup supply of breast milk and the iron-fortified infant formula can credit towards a reimbursable meal or snack. Breast milk and iron-fortified infant formula can be offered to a baby in the same meal. Offer the baby the breast milk first, and if the baby finishes the breast milk and still shows signs that he or she is hungry, then go ahead and offer the infant formula. Okay, so babies may get hungry at times outside of typical meal times and may even eat smaller or larger amounts from day to day. For this reason, physicians and dietitians recommend that babies be fed on demand. Feeding a baby on demand means feeding a baby when they are hungry. So while a baby may not be able to say, "I'm hungry," they can tell you they're hungry through cues or signs. Listed on the slide here are just a few examples of hunger signs. A baby may make sucking noises, suck on their hands, fingers, and toes, reach for a bottle if it is near, and may root to tell you he or she is hungry. And rooting is when a baby's mouth, lips, cheek, or chin are touched, and then the baby turns his head and opens his mouth. Rooting is a reflex that helps the baby find and grasp a nipple. Many people think that babies will just cry when they are hungry, but crying is actually a late sign of hunger. It can also mean other things besides hunger, such as wanting to be held or even needing a diaper change. Instead of waiting for a baby to cry, look for these earlier signs of hunger like the ones we just mentioned. Okay, so let's go ahead and check our knowledge. I'm going to go ahead and ask you the question on the slide here, and then I will go to the next slide where you can select your answer by clicking the box on the screen. These are all signs that a baby is hungry, except makes sucking noises, seals lips together, rooting, sucks on hands. So which one of these does not mean that the baby is hungry? You can go ahead and select your answer on the next slide. All right, very good. So the answer is B, seals lips together. A baby may show signs of hunger by making sucking noises, rooting, or sucking on hands. But a baby may show that they are full by sealing his or her lips together. So similar to showing signs of hunger, a baby will also show you different signs when the baby is full. Listed on the slide here are just a few examples of how a baby tells you they are full. Let the baby stop eating if they stop sucking or slow down sucking, if they fall asleep, if they turn his head away, they seal her lips together, and or are no longer paying attention during the feeding. You will normally see more than one of these signs together, and when you see these signs, it is time to stop the feeding. Letting the baby stop when they are full helps the baby control how much he or she eats during a feeding. Later in life, this will be an important skill for the child to have. Babies usually consume enough food to grow and develop when being able to stop eating when they are full. Okay, let's try another check your knowledge. So again, I'm going to ask you the question on the slide here, and we will go to the next slide where you can select your answer by clicking the box on the screen. So these are all signs that a baby is full, except they fall asleep, they seal lips together, stop sucking or slows down, or rooting. So go ahead and enter your answers here. So these are all signs that a baby is full, except falls asleep, seals lips together, stops sucking or slows down, or rooting. All right, great job. The answer is D, rooting. A baby is hungry when they are rooting. Remember, we said rooting is when a baby's mouth, lips, cheek, or chin are touched, and the baby turns his head and opens his mouth. Rooting is a reflex that helps the baby find and grasp a nipple. A baby may show that they are full by falling asleep, sealing his or her lips together, and or stops sucking or slows down sucking during the feeding. So the CACFP infant meal pattern takes the baby's usual eating habits into account. As long as all of the required amounts are offered to the baby, the meals are reimbursable under the CACFP. Some babies may eat less than what you offer them, and that's okay. Never force the baby to finish what's in the bottle, and allow a baby to stop when they are full. Again, just like the example with baby Jonathan, we are following his usual eating habits. If you remember earlier on in the webinar, baby Jonathan showed signs of hunger at 9 a.m., so you offered him 4 to 6 fluid ounces of breast milk. Jonathan showed signs of being full after 2 fluid ounces, so you stopped the feeding. But later on that morning at 10:30, he showed signs of hunger again, so you offered him more. Even though there were 2 feeding sessions, you still claim them as part of a reimbursable breakfast meal. Okay, I'm going to ask you another question on the slide here, and then I'll go to the next slide where you can select your answer. Here is a scenario for you. Baby Zoe is rooting and is making sucking noises. Marta, her childcare provider, can tell baby Zoe is hungry. So Marta prepares a bottle containing 6 fluid ounces of breast milk. Baby Zoe is full after eating only 3 fluid ounces of breast milk and does not finish her bottle. Can Marta still claim the 3 fluid ounces as part of a reimbursable meal? Yes or no? So go ahead and select your answer on the slide here. So can Marta still claim that 3 fluid ounces of breast milk as part of a reimbursable meal? Great job, everyone. Yes, the answer is yes. Marta can claim the 3 fluid ounces as part of a reimbursable meal. However, she must offer Zoe more later on if Zoe shows signs of being hungry. So as a reminder, you must offer the full minimum serving of 4 to 6 fluid ounces of breast milk or iron-fortified infant formula to an infant at each meal and snack, but the baby decides how much he or she wants. So if possible, offer breastfeeding mothers a clean, comfortable, and quiet place to breastfeed her baby. This could be a space in a small room, or in a corner of a classroom or office with a privacy screen or curtain. To create a breastfeeding-friendly space at your childcare site, consider including a pillow for mom to support her baby, a footstool, and a comfortable chair like a rocking chair in the space. Having a designated breastfeeding-friendly area in your childcare site is not a requirement in the CACFP, but it is a CACFP best practice. If mom chooses to breastfeed at your childcare site, you can still claim it as part of a reimbursable meal or snack. Okay, one last check your knowledge. Again, I'm going to ask you the question on the slide here, and then I'll go to the next slide where you can answer by clicking on the box on the screen. So a mom comes in around lunch to breastfeed her baby at your childcare site. You don't know how much breast milk the baby had since she was breastfed. Can you claim this as part of a reimbursable lunch? Yes or no? So go ahead and select your answer here. Can you claim this as part of a reimbursable lunch if mom comes on site to breastfeed her baby? Way to go, guys. Yes, you can claim this as part of a reimbursable lunch. If mom comes to breastfeed her baby on site, then you can still claim this as part of a reimbursable meal. When a mom breastfeeds on site or at your childcare site, you do not have to worry if the baby was offered the full minimum amount of 4 to 6 fluid ounces at the meal. Follow your state agency or sponsoring organization's instructions for how they would like for you to document this. They may ask you to write breastfed or mom on site for documentation. Okay, so that concludes the information portion of our webinar for today. We will go ahead and take questions in a few minutes, so please start typing them now into your chat box on your screen. While you guys are getting your questions entered, I'll just go over a few post-webinar housekeeping information. Those of you attending the webinar for the entire 30 minutes today will receive a certificate via email by the end of the day on Tuesday, July 24th. Please wait until after July 24th and check your spam or junk mailboxes before inquiring about your certificate. If you are viewing the webinar with multiple people, you can go ahead and print out a certificate for each person. More practice questions are available at the National CACFP Sponsors Association website at www.cacfp.org/30on-Thursdays. We will now go ahead and share the link in the chat box on the screen. For those of you who want to submit or track continuing education credits with NCA, you can do that at that link as well. Again, it's www.cacfp.org/30on-Thursdays. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available on the Team Nutrition website. And if you're watching this as a recorded webinar and want to receive a certificate, you can go to the National CACFP Sponsors Association website at www.cacfp.org/30on-Thursdays to complete the post-webinar practice questions and then receive a certificate. The certificates may be sent a few days after completing the questions. So once again, thank you for joining us for today's webinar on feeding infants 0 through 5 months. We hope to have you on the next webinar on August 16th, where we will discuss how to support breastfeeding in the CACFP. And then in September, we're going to talk about feeding infants solid foods. And now we'll go ahead and take questions.
Great presentation, Katie. My name is Mimi Wu, and I'm another nutritionist here at Child Nutrition Programs. And we also have Melissa Daigle-Katz and Rachel Polon. So we're kind of a full house today, but we're so happy to have you all here and to answer your questions. And just thank you for spending some time with us today. So my first question for Katie is someone asked, I have a 3-month-old in my care that will only drink 3 fluid ounces of breast milk at one time. So that is less than the required 4 to 6 fluid ounces. I don't want to waste breast milk. What should I do?
You're absolutely right. It's a great question. We never want to waste breast milk. So if a baby usually drinks less than the minimum serving size of 4 to 6 fluid ounces per feeding, and to prevent wasting of the breast milk, you may offer less than the minimum serving size of breast milk. But additional breast milk must be offered later if the infant shows signs of hunger. So again, like baby Jonathan, he ate at 9 a.m. and then was full, and then again ate an hour and a half later at 10:30 a.m. And so both of those feedings counted towards that one breakfast meal.
Great. Thank you, Katie. Okay, another question is that I am concerned that none of the infants in my care, I am concerned that one of the infants in my care is not getting enough to eat. I prepare a 6 fluid ounce bottle for him at mealtime, but he only drinks about 4.5 to 5 ounces, and then he falls asleep.
So your concern is completely understandable, and most people do have a tendency to want the infant to finish the bottle. However, the baby's hunger may be satisfied before he or she even drinks all of the formula or breast milk that's in the bottle. So to help ease your concerns, remember we talked about those fullness signs. So make sure to look for signs of fullness that the infant shows you. And remember, those are just turning his or her head away from the bottle, suck slowly or stop sucking altogether. They may even push the bottle away. And in this case, they're even falling asleep, which is that sign of fullness.
Great. All right, thank you. And then someone else, this is a question more about breastfeeding moms. So someone asked, the mother of one of my infants in my center is breastfeeding. She is having difficulty providing enough breast milk for the baby each day, so she also provides iron fortified infant formula. Sometimes she will provide bottles that have 3 ounces of formula and tell me to provide an additional 3 ounces. She'll provide bottles that have 3 ounces of breast milk and then tell me to give another 3 ounces of formula in the same feeding if the baby is still hungry. Is this meal reimbursable in the CACFP?
Absolutely. Okay, so she's serving breast milk and infant formula at the same meal. Okay, so yes, the meal is still eligible for reimbursement in the CACFP. Meals served to infants younger than 12 months of age may contain a combination of iron-fortified infant formula and that breast milk. We do encourage you to continue to offer the breast milk first, and if the infant shows signs of hunger when the bottle is finished, offer the additional iron-fortified infant formula. Again, as long as you're requiring that minimum amount provided, then the meal is reimbursable. But with that said, make sure to always talk to the parents first to know what they prefer you to give their baby if the baby is still hungry after finishing the breast milk.
Got it. Okay, so this is another question about parents. A parent informed me that she put infant cereal in the formula for a 5.5-month-old to help her sleep better at nap time. How can I let parents know that meals served in this manner are not creditable in the CACFP?
Okay, good question. So in this situation, we would definitely encourage you to take the time to have that conversation with the parent. Let the parent know that bottles of formula that contain infant cereal, so that have cereal in the bottle with the formula, are not creditable in the CACFP unless it is supported by a medical statement signed by the baby's healthcare provider. Adding cereal to a bottle can be a choking hazard, and actually it may cause baby to gain weight too quickly, so it's not a recommended practice.
Great. Okay, and then a parent often brings bottles of express breast milk to leave at the center. How long can I keep this breast milk?
Great question. So freshly pumped breast milk can be stored in the refrigerator for up to 3 days, or a total of 72 hours from the day it was pumped before it needs to be thrown away. So you just want to make sure that the bottle includes the infant's full name, their first and last name, and the date the milk was expressed or pumped. It is also important to remember the temperature of the refrigerator needs to be at or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and freshly pumped breast milk can be stored in the freezer, and it should be used within 6 months, or it can even be used up to 12 months.
Great. Thank you, Katie. And so now we have a couple of questions for our policy team. So someone asked, can you please repeat how many hours should we keep the bottle that is not finished by the baby, and when do we discard it?
So this is Melissa Daigle-Katz with Policy. You can keep any infant or any breast milk that the baby did not finish for 2 hours in the refrigerator, and then it does have to be discarded after that.
Okay, so 2 hours. And of course, if your site or local health authority has stricter rules, we would recommend that you follow those.
Absolutely.
Okay, another question is, is it permitted for a center to purchase powdered iron fortified formula and send it home with the parents to mix and prepare the bottles to send back with the infant?
That does not affect reimbursement.
Okay.
That can be the child care provider's own requirement, but it does not affect CACFP reimbursement whatsoever, whether the parent mixes it or the provider mixes it.
Okay. Let me see. Everyone sent in so many great questions, so we're just kind of going through them right now. Okay. So someone else asked, breast milk must be 4 to 6 ounces, ? What if mom produces less than 4 ounces and mom does not want to supplement? What are some options the provider has?
That's a great question, and that's a conversation to continue to have with mom and to see what she does at home. And so you can provide the express breast milk that she provides to you with the baby's full name, first and last, and also the date that she expresses the breast milk. She may also just want to come on site if she has the ability to do so at each meal to breastfeed. Again, though, you can also have a conversation with her on, okay, baby is still showing signs of hunger, and what you're seeing from baby, and see at that point then if she wants to supplement with infant formula, the iron-fortified infant formula after the breast milk. But again, that's a decision that the parent will make, and continue to have that conversation.
Great, Katie, thank you. And I think that's a really good point, too, with a lot of speaking back and forth with the parents, for all children in child care, but especially for infants who are so young and very variable. So another question I have, I think our policy team can answer this. How many meals can a site claim per day for infants?
That's 3 meals per day, so 2 meals and a snack.
Great. Okay. And let me see. Again, you guys have so many wonderful questions. We're just kind of going through them right now. Does USDA have any resources on proper storage of breast milk that is expressed either on-site or sent by the parent?
So we are working on updating the Feeding Infants Guide, which will be out later this year, and that will include storage time for countertop storage, as well as refrigerator and freezer.
Okay, and then I think we have time for one more question before we'll wrap up. So if breast milk and formula are being mixed for an infant, do you have to write down the separate amount for both or the total of the mixed amount? My guess would be that it would be kind of up to the sponsor or the state, right? Because every state may have their own regulation.
Absolutely. Talk to your sponsoring organization or state agency to see how you should document that. But you do want to note that serving breast milk and infant formula does not have to go in the same bottle. And so speak with the sponsoring organization or state agency to see how they want you to document that. All right. So that is all the time we have. Again, Mimi had mentioned that you guys have tons of questions, which are great, but that's all the time we have for answering them. But please go ahead and we want to let you know that we do read all of your chat box questions and comments, as well as comments in the post-webinar survey. And that helps us continually improve these webinars and to hopefully meet your needs. So thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you all on our next webinar on August 16th.